Great. I am Avery Ash. I'm head of autonomous mobility for INRIX. And want to talk to you today about, and I'll wait until my slide deck gets up here, about how cities can get back in the driver's seat when it comes to testing and deployment of highly automated vehicles on public roads. So most of my time is spent on the road talking to mayor's offices, to regional councils, to county governments, to state, federal governments about highly automated vehicles and what they can be doing to leverage data to prepare for, and then to engage with these vehicles once they hit roads. When most cities or road authorities think about highly automated vehicles, this is the sort of map they think about. It's a map that shows everybody else is doing something. This is a map made by Bloomberg Philanthropies and the Aspen Institute that shows where testing is currently taking place for highly automated vehicles around the world. What this map would seem to show is that everywhere is testing or deploying, and that if you, as a road authority, don't have a plan and don't have a vehicle set up to operate, that you're falling behind. So in these conversations, I get two themes of questions from the public sector. The first theme is, how do I prepare for highly automated vehicles? What do I need to do to plan for this new transportation technology to operate on my public roads? The second is, how do I engage with these vehicles once they're actually on the road in my jurisdiction? So those are the two buckets of questions I get, and I kind of want to give two themes of answers that we provide here at INRIX to those questions. The first is to try to change the thought, the perception here of highly automated vehicles, this race toward autonomy, as being something that one city or one country or one operator is going to win. It's not about who gets there first. It's about how does this technology, similar to any other ITS technology, how does it fit into your strategy for addressing transportation challenges? So how do you go through that process of figuring out where these vehicles actually can fit in and make a difference for you as a road authority? And this really comes down to, how do you match use cases for the technology with challenges that your jurisdiction has? So is it a low-speed shuttle? Is it an augmentation to public transit? So a first mile, last mile solution. Are we talking about robo-taxis? Highly automated commercial trucks? Is it ride-hailing services? Is it local delivery vehicles? And once you understand these different applications of the technology, recognizing that autonomous vehicles are not a broad brush term that can be applied to a wide scope of vehicles, you can start to think about, how do I leverage these use cases for challenges that I'm facing as a city or road authority? Those challenges might be congestion relief, emissions reduction, access to mobility for underserved populations. Is it cheaper mobility? Is it helping people get to and from work more easily? And once you understand what those challenges are, you can start to look at the different use cases and match them up. Figure out, where can I look for an application of this technology in my city that's actually going to have a material impact on the way that I do business and the way that my constituents access a transportation network. So the approach that we've been pushing at INRIX is this concept of data-driven deployment. Far too often when I talk to a city who's preparing for a highly automated vehicle to hit their public roads, no thought process went into where that pilot is taking place and what's the intended goal. Oftentimes you'll see maybe a low-speed shuttle being deployed somewhere downtown, so a mayor's office can have a nice ribbon cutting, can get some good headlines, can show it off to constituents, and check the box on autonomy. What we've encouraged is cities, road authorities, to look at their current transportation models for their jurisdiction and understand how the applicable highly automated vehicle use case actually might fit in your jurisdiction. So the image up here came from a report that we published at the South by Southwest conference in Austin, Texas last year, and looked at 3 US cities, Austin, Texas, San Francisco, and New York City. And within those markets, we broke down by census blocks, so very small areas, just a couple of city blocks each, and looked at 3 metrics. We looked at congestion levels and trips, so A to B trips between areas, We looked at parking utilization. So where was there a lot of curb space for pickup and drop-offs, but not a lot of available space for personal vehicles to park? And then demographic information. So where were there populations less likely to have a driver's license? Those that are very old, those that are quite young. Where are there those who might be currently underserved by public transportation? And where are there those who are currently commuting to work using a personal vehicle? And we created one of these heat maps that identifies areas within those markets where low speed, highly automated, shared use shuttles are most likely to have the highest uptake rate and see the highest matching of current transportation needs with an existing technology and an existing deployment. The second question becomes, what are the steps, once you've gone through that planning process for a highly automated vehicle, that I as a city or I as a road authority need to take to support the safe operation of a highly automated vehicle? Is it investment of dollars? Am I paying for this vehicle to operate? Is it changes to policies or regulations in order to allow these vehicles to operate on public roads? Is it hard infrastructure? Is it paving roads, providing new lanes? Or is it technology? Does it require connectivity? Does it require major investments in new technologies? And what cities are oftentimes finding is through this approach is really none of these particularly apply. If a company wants to test a highly automated vehicle, the perspective most of the time is the current state of rules allows me to test these on public roads so long as I have a safety driver. I don't need you to put in additional connectivity. The development of these vehicles is taking place in parallel in the absence of connectivity. The idea from an engineering perspective being you can't have a vehicle on the road that can't function if that connectivity drops out. Current infrastructure is proving sufficient. You could always fill more potholes and pave more lines, but the infrastructure is okay as of now. And from dollars, if a company is going to come and test these vehicles on public roads, there's not a dollar exchange that takes place for that. Now, if a city is contracting to have a highly automated shuttle run, that's a different question. So then it comes down to what can a city or a road authority actually offer to a highly automated vehicle company that's material and that might move the needle to attract testing and support safe operation. Does anybody know what this is? This is what's called a CAPTCHA. It's used when you log into a new system. So this was on my travel over to the UK. I went to log into Gmail when I arrived. In order to prove that I wasn't a robot trying to hack my Gmail account, it presented me with this image and asked me to identify where are the traffic lights in this image. In order to prove that I'm not a robot, I needed to identify where are there traffic lights. This is part of what's called the machine learning process, which ends up being much more accurately described as human training. I am actively training a system to identify where there might be a stop sign, another vehicle, or a traffic light. The fact that Google is asking me to prove that I'm not a computer system by being able to identify a sign or a traffic light is hard evidence that these vehicles, while very good at identifying an object's existence in the world and recording that location, are not as good at the identification and context that's required to understand the rules that apply to a given roadway. The machine learning process as it currently stands, vehicle uses all of its sensor suite and scans the environment around it. It identifies where there might be a sign. It sends that image to a human, a team of thousands or hundreds or if not thousands of humans who spend hours upon hours upon hours going through an image, creating what are called bound boxes within that image of where an object's located and what object is inside of that bound box. That's the activity I'm doing here with this CAPTCHA process. From there, that information gets fed into an algorithm, and over time, the algorithm gets better at identifying a stop sign from a yield sign, from a biker, from a plastic bag on the road. These systems are not particularly sophisticated at this point, and ultimately, they'll only get to an increased confidence level. They'll never be ground truth. So the next step in this process, for this machine learning process, is, again, bring back in the humans. Take this identification that's been done by a computer and have it actually validated by a human in the process in the HD map, so at their computer. And then as the final step, you take this rules layer that's been built by a company over the course of weeks, if not months, hundreds, if not thousands of man hours, and tens of thousands of dollars for the machine learning process, and you actually take it out in the real world. You have a human driver sit within that vehicle and tick off where the rules that the vehicle thinks apply are incorrect. And that gets you to the rules of the road. This is not a particularly good answer to provide to a road authority when that question is asked of how does your vehicle know where it needs to stop, what its turn restrictions are, what the speed limit is, et cetera. When the answer is we use a machine learning process and we do a pretty good job of guessing what those rules are. We thought there had to be an easier way, and in our conversations with vehicle operators in cities, the question was asked, why aren't you just connecting the vehicle with the road authority who knows what these rules are? And the answer was, there's no tool for a road authority to digitize their traffic rules at present, and there's no mechanism to deliver that into a highly automated vehicle. So what INRIX built is AV road rules, and rather than explain it to you, I'll show you a quick 90-second video.
With highly autonomous vehicles, HAVs, in the news and beginning to operate on public roads, there is concern from motorists, lawmakers, and the general public about the safety and operation of these vehicles. Today, HAVs use sensors to identify and classify road signs or rely on third-party data sets. While the technology is improving, these methods are imprecise workarounds for a system that was built for human drivers. Now there's a better answer. With the launch of INRIX AV road rules, vehicle operators and road authorities can confidently say HAVs follow the rules of the road here. The INRIX AV road rules platform helps cities and HAV operators safely test and deploy HAVs. It also helps cities manage traffic rules and restrictions and helps HAVs share information, making roads more efficient for everyone. AV road rules eliminates guesswork by communicating verified rules from a road authority to an HAV. It also ensures HAVs are aware of school zones, stop signs, crosswalks, bike lanes, and other critical traffic rules. It even helps HAVs send information about what's happening on roads to authorities to improve road safety for everyone. INRIX AV road rules help cities, road authorities, and HAV operators demonstrate their commitment to safe testing and deployment of HAVs. INRIX has spent over a decade helping human drivers travel more safely and efficiently. We're looking forward to helping cars without human drivers do the same in the decades to come. If you're interested in laying the groundwork for HAVs in your city, then we should talk.
So AV road rules creates that process for communicating to a vehicle in operation what are the ground truth rules as validated and managed by the road authority, the traditional role of a road authority, setting and managing those rules, and then also creates, and it was mentioned in the video, a feedback loop for information to come from the vehicle in operation about infrastructure needs, pothole location, areas where lane striping is worn, or areas where signage is inadequate, back to the road authority for them to address and prioritize. So what we feel is this has really created a win-win scenario. Cities are provided a tool to actively engage and take steps to prepare for and support the safe and effective operation of highly automated vehicles. And they get this data stream coming back of information about roadway health, and it also lays a foundation for additional information to be shared. Highly automated vehicle operators like the platform because it provides them with a data set that doesn't currently exist, that they're spending significant resources on trying to build themselves and still getting a subpar result. And it also checks that box on safety. So when they're asked that question by a regulator, how do you know that you're obeying the rules? The answer, rather than we do a pretty good job of guessing, can be the rules are provided to me and I follow them. We launched AV Road Rules in July with 7 initial test markets: Las Vegas, Nevada, Austin, Texas, Boston and Cambridge, Massachusetts, Portland, Maine in the US, and Transport Scotland and Transport for West Midlands here in the UK. And with a handful of vehicle operators at launch: Jaguar Land Rover, Aptiv and Delphi, Nutonomy, Renovo, and May Mobility. And we are planning to expand both of those lists, our vehicle operator partners and our public sector partners, toward the end of this year. So with that, I will leave you with my contact details here. Please feel free to reach out or come find me afterwards if you've got any questions. Thank you.